The grand tapestry of nobility often conceals threads of deep human suffering, stories woven in the shadows, unseen and unheard by the world of privilege. This is the narrative of one such life, a soul so utterly devalued that her existence was a mere whisper, yet destined to become the very heart of a kingdom's hope. Her name was Lyra. To the inhabitants of Blackwood Manor, she was less than a servant, less than a ghost. She was an unwanted appendage, a living testament to a past disgrace that the Thorne family desperately sought to bury beneath layers of opulent facade. Orphaned at a tender age under circumstances shrouded in scandal, she had been taken in, not out of kindness, but as a means to control a problematic legacy. Her days were a relentless march of menial labor, her world confined to the dustiest corners and the coldest chambers. From dawn till dusk, she scrubbed, mended, and served, her every movement dictated by the capricious moods of Lady Beatrice Thorne, her nominal guardian. Her nights were spent in a cramped attic, exposed to the elements, a stark contrast to the silken sheets and plush furnishings that adorned the lives of those she served. Her very presence was an offense, a constant, unwelcome reminder of a sin committed by her parents, a sin for which she paid an unending penance. Lady Beatrice Thorne, a woman whose ambition was as sharp as her features were severe, viewed Lyra as a blight, a living embodiment of a family secret, a scandal that threatened the carefully constructed image of respectability the Thornes clung to. Lyra was a constant, irritating presence, a symbol of a love that dared to defy convention, resulting in a child born outside the hallowed sanctity of marriage. You blithering fool! Can you not even manage to polish a single silver candlestick without leaving smudges? Your mere existence here is an affront to this house. Be gone from my sight before I find a more suitable employment for your ineptitude. Lyra had learned early to construct an impenetrable fortress around her heart. Her only solace lay in the tattered books she found discarded in the manor's neglected library, tales of faraway lands, valiant heroes, and ladies of virtue. These borrowed dreams offered a fleeting sanctuary from the brutal reality of her days, a momentary escape into worlds where kindness and valor prevailed. The manor's staff, largely fearful of Lady Beatrice's volatile temper, treated Lyra with a mixture of indifference and disdain. She was an invisible fixture, an unfortunate shadow that the more fortunate residents of Blackwood Manor chose to ignore. Yet, in the hidden alcoves of the estate, a few souls recognized the flicker of an indomitable spirit within the girl, a resilience that refused to be entirely extinguished. Old Thomas, the stable master, was one such soul. His small acts of unsolicited kindness, a piece of bread, a warm word, were like life-giving water to a parched earth for Lyra. Despite the crushing weight of her circumstances, Lyra possessed an innate grace, a quiet dignity, and a remarkable resilience. Her hands, though accustomed to the rough work of servants, were nimble and possessed a natural elegance. She had a keen, observant mind, a deep well of empathy, and a capacity for understanding that was rarely, if ever, reciprocated. The Thorne family, though their fortune had long since dwindled, still desperately clung to the vestiges of their former prestige. Occasional gatherings were still held at Blackwood Manor, events designed to remind the world of their lineage, even as their present reality starkly contradicted it. Lyra, a living testament to their present decline, was kept meticulously hidden away, a shameful secret secreted behind closed doors, a scandal too potent to be exposed to the outside world. Beyond the desolate grounds of Blackwood Manor lay the capital city, a glittering jewel of a metropolis pulsing with life, political intrigue, and the radiant presence of the crown prince. It was a world as distant and unattainable to Lyra as the stars that peppered the night sky. One particularly bleak evening, as the last sounds of the departing carriages faded into the oppressive silence of the countryside, Lyra retreated to the solitude of her attic chamber. The familiar ache of her existence settled upon her, a heavy shroud. She clutched a small, tarnished locket, its surface worn smooth by countless touches, a fragile relic of a past she barely recalled, a connection she could not fully comprehend. Yet, even in the deepest pits of neglect and despair, the human spirit possesses an extraordinary capacity for survival. And for Lyra, a profound shift was on the horizon, a tempest of destiny that was about to shatter the quiet desolation of her existence and usher her toward a future far more magnificent and infinitely more perilous than her wildest dreams could have ever conceived. The foundation for a legend was about to be laid within the heart of one whom society had deemed less than nothing. while Lyra's life was trapped within the suffocating confines of Blackwood Manor, the kingdom of Viridia basked in the aura of its crown prince, Adrian, a man renowned for his sharp intellect, his strategic mind, and a growing reputation for unwavering justice. Prince Adrian was the nation's guiding star. Poised to inherit a throne that had weathered tumultuous eras, Prince Adrian possessed an uncommon understanding of the common people, a trait that set him apart from the vast majority of his aristocratic peers. He frequently ventured into the less opulent districts of the capital, discreetly listening to their grievances, observing their struggles with genuine interest. It was during one of these clandestine excursions, disguised and unannounced, that his path, unknowingly, was set to intersect with Lyra's. Driven by an insatiable desire to grasp the true pulse of his kingdom, Prince Adrian often journeyed beyond the ornate gates of the royal palace. He firmly believed that genuine leadership was not forged in ceremonial grandeur, but in a profound understanding of the hearts and minds of those he was destined to govern. It was during one of these unassuming expeditions that a serendipitous encounter would irrevocably alter the course of his life, and the life of a young woman unjustly overlooked by the world, Lady Beatrice. Perpetually concerned with appearances and the prudent management of her meager finances, occasionally sent Lyra to the local market town for essential supplies. These were brief, purely functional excursions, designed to ensure Lyra remained invisible and unnoticed by anyone of consequence. Lyra, for her part, found a bittersweet sense of liberation in these fleeting moments away from the manor's oppressive atmosphere. The bustling market, though inherently chaotic, was vibrantly alive. It was on one such errand, on a crisp autumn afternoon, that destiny, with its inexorable hand, intervened. Lyra, clutching a short list of items for Lady Beatrice, found herself ensnared in the dense throng of the market square. A sudden, alarming commotion erupted. A runaway horse, a panicked crowd, and a drop basket of Lyra's meager purchases. Scattering across the cobblestones dot in the ensuing pandemonium, Lyra, small and accustomed to being overlooked, was violently jostled and knocked to the ground. Her few coins and the carefully bought provisions tumbled away, humiliated and utterly vulnerable. She desperately attempted to gather her scattered belongings, her face burning with mortification as indifferent strangers stepped carelessly over her. It was then that a figure emerged from the chaos, a man whose very presence seemed to command attention, even in his humble disguise. Prince Adrian, his heart stirred by the visible distress of the young woman, moved with a swiftness that belied his unassuming attire. "Be careful, young lady. The market could be a dangerous place for the unwary. Let me assist you." Lyra, unaccustomed to such unsolicited kindness, was profoundly taken aback by this stranger's unexpected attentiveness as he knelt beside her, meticulously retrieving her fallen coins and the precious ingredients. Their eyes met. In that fleeting, charged moment, a spark ignited an unspoken connection that transcended the vast chasm between their stations. He noticed the worn edges of the book that had fallen from her basket, a collection of ancient poetry. A subtle curiosity flickered in his eyes. He returned her scattered items with a polite nod, his gaze lingering for a moment longer than was strictly necessary. "I hope you are not injured. It seems the world conspires to test us today." "Thank you, sir. You are most kind." As Lyra hurried away, retreating towards the familiar, drab path back to Blackwood Manor, her mind was a whirlwind of confusion and nascent emotion. The encounter had been fleeting, yet it had left an indelible imprint. The stranger's unexpected kindness, the profound depth in his eyes, the fleeting recognition he had shown. It was an entirely novel sensation, a whisper of a souvenir world intruding upon her bleak existence. Prince Adrian, however, found himself unable to dismiss Lyra from his thoughts. He had been struck by her quiet dignity in the face of adversity, the unspoken emotions hidden behind her guarded eyes. In a world of superficial courtesies, he had encountered an authenticity, an untamed spirit yearning for something more. He made discreet inquiries, seeking to learn more about the young woman who had so effortlessly captured his attention. He was informed, dismissively, that she was merely a ward of the disgraced Thorne family, treated little better than a servant. This information, rather than diminishing his interest, only intensified his curiosity. He sensed the narrative, a hidden depth that the dismissive words failed to convey. The seed of interest had been planted, a delicate tendril reaching from the opulent world of the prince towards the shadowed existence of the neglected girl. Prince Adrian, who believed he had seen much of the world, was about to discover that the most significant revelations often lay hidden in the most unexpected places, within the hearts of those society had carelessly deemed unworthy of notice. Prince Adrian's growing fascination with Lyra extended beyond mere personal curiosity. The Thorne family, despite their diminished influence and dwindling fortune, still occupied a precarious, yet significant, position within the kingdom's intricate political framework. Lady Beatrice, desperate to reclaim any shred of lost prestige, was acutely aware of the prince's potential interest. Lady Beatrice, a woman of sharp pragmatism, saw Lyra not as a beloved ward, but as a valuable, albeit unwanted, pawn. Her family's tarnished lineage was a persistent shadow, and any association with the crown, however indirect, offered the potential to restore their lost reputation. She began to subtly orchestrate a series of calculated maneuvers, positioning Lyra as a key instrument in her ambitious game. You are fortunate, child, that the prince noticed you. It is a rare honor for someone of your background. Should he ever speak to you again, you will conduct yourself with the utmost respect and humility. You are to be an example of quiet obedience. Remember your place. Lyra, still reeling from the prince's unexpected kindness, found herself increasingly bewildered by Lady Beatrice's sudden, almost feverish attention. The instructions were contradictory: be humble, yet be noticeable; be present, yet remain invisible. It was a delicate tightrope walk that left Lyra feeling more scrutinized and pressured than ever. Meanwhile, within the gilded corridors of power, whispers began to circulate with alarming speed. Certain influential factions, having observed the prince's unusual inquiries regarding the Thorne family, started to weave their own intricate narratives. They perceived an opportunity to gain favor or to subtly undermine their rivals. By subtly linking the prince's name to the disgraced lineage, Prince Adrian, however, remained steadfastly focused on Lyra. He found the veiled attempts to manipulate his attention tiresome and transparently opportunistic. His interest was genuine and intellectual, an emotional curiosity that was not easily swayed by the superficial machinations of courtly life. He orchestrated another chance encounter, this time under the guise of a royal decree concerning the status and upkeep of minor noble families and their estates. His visit to Blackwood Manor was met with a flurry of eager activity. Lady Beatrice, meticulously arranging for Lyra's presence, ensured the manor presented its most presentable, albeit faded, countenance. Lyra, clad in a plain yet immaculately mended gown, felt a palpable tremor of anticipation mingled with trepidation as she awaited the prince's arrival. Your Highness, it is an honor beyond measure. We have always been loyal subjects, and this is our ward, Lyra. Adrian's conversation with Lyra was brief, carefully choreographed to appear as a formal inquiry regarding the manor's governance and its architectural preservation needs. Yet, beneath the veneer of official protocol, a genuine exchange of thoughts and feelings transpired. He spoke of the kingdom's urgent need for stability and the profound burdens of leadership. And Lyra, emboldened by his open and engaging demeanor, responded with a clarity and perceptive insight that surprised even herself. The West Wing requires immediate repair, Your Highness. The foundations are unsound, and our library, though holding many treasures, suffers from damp. Perhaps a small grant for preservation. Lyra, however, found herself increasingly drawn to the realm of knowledge that Prince Adrian represented. She absorbed his words, his subtle insights into statecraft and societal dynamics, and began to perceive the world through a significantly wider lens. The prince, recognizing her burgeoning potential, began to subtly guide her, discreetly providing her with books and engaging her in intellectual conversations that expanded her understanding of the world far beyond the confines of the manor. But this budding connection did not go unnoticed by the ever-watchful eyes of the court. Rivals of the Thorne family, as well as those actively seeking to influence the prince's decisions, began to interpret Adrian's interest in Lyra as a nascent, romantic entanglement, a dalliance that could be exploited for political gain. The whispers grew louder, more pointed, suggesting that the prince was being unduly influenced by a woman of no consequence, a mere nobody. Lyra, caught between her aunt's relentless ambition and the prince's enigmatic interest, began to feel the ever-increasing weight of her precarious position. She was no longer merely a neglected ward. She was becoming a focal point of intrigue, a subject of both fervent hope and deep suspicion within the kingdom's intricate and often dangerous web of power. The simple act of being noticed had thrust her into a world far more complex, and Prince Adrian, increasingly convinced of Lyra's inherent worth and a remarkable intelligence, and growing frustrated by the veiled machinations and superficiality of the court, decided it was time to take a decisive step. He saw the potential for Lyra to evolve into more than just a curious acquaintance. He recognized in her a spirit that could profoundly complement his own vision for the future of Rhedia. His decision, however, was met with fierce and organized opposition from the entrenched powers of the nobility. He convened a private meeting with his inner council, his most trusted advisors. Among them were Lord Chancellor Abernathy, a man whose loyalty was as ancient as the kingdom's very foundations, and Lord Regent Thorn, no relation to Lyra's lineage, a man whose pragmatic outlook often bordered on rigid conservatism. Adrian laid bare his intentions, his voice resonating with unwavering conviction. "I have observed Lyra Thorn closely. Her intellect, her resilience, and her quiet strength are precisely the qualities this kingdom desperately needs. I intend to formally elevate her status and provide her with the protection and resources she deserves. Your Highness, with all due respect, the Thorn family is problematic, to say the least. Their lineage carries a significant stain, and this young woman has no formal standing or recognized title. Such a move would be perceived as a grave indiscretion, inevitably inviting scandal and severely undermining your authority as you prepare to rule. While Lord Regent Thorn speaks of tradition and perception, Your Highness, the prince's intuition often serves as a powerful guiding force. If the young woman indeed possesses such remarkable merit, perhaps her current station is merely a matter of unfortunate circumstance, not an indictment of her inherent worth. However, the perception of the court must be carefully managed and addressed. Baron von Hesse, a man of considerable influence and a staunch traditionalist, having been alerted to Julian's intentions by his extensive network of spies, recognized this as his prime opportunity to act. He began to strategically rally support among the more conservative and traditionalist elements of the nobility, painting Lyra as a commoner of questionable background, an unsuitable influence on the crown prince, and ultimately a dangerous threat to the purity of the royal bloodline. He subtly fueled rumors of illicit affairs and whispered dire warnings about the catastrophic consequences of a prince marrying beneath his station. Lady Beatrice, far from being pleased by the turn of events, grew increasingly anxious and possessive. Adrian's direct intervention meant her own carefully constructed control over Lyra was rapidly diminishing. Her meticulously laid plans for Lyra's gradual ascent were being entirely overshadowed by the prince's decisive actions, leaving her feeling sidelined, powerless, and increasingly resentful. She harbored a growing fear that Lyra, now under the direct protection and influence of the crown prince, might inadvertently reveal truths that could further damage the Thorn family's already precarious reputation. Julian, remaining undeterred by the rising tide of opposition, proceeded to issue a formal royal decree. While it did not immediately elevate Lyra to a noble title, it formally recognized her as a ward of the crown, thereby granting her royal protection and a stipend directly from the royal treasury. This decree, though seemingly a minor administrative adjustment, significantly shifted Lyra's legal and social standing, moving her from the disreputable Thorn family's responsibility to the direct purview and protection of the king and the crown prince. My place, Aunt Beatrice, was always in shadows. This is a chance to understand what that means. Lyra was subsequently moved to more suitable accommodations within the capital, a comfortable, well-appointed guest house managed by attentive royal attendants. For the first time in her entire life, she was treated with genuine respect, provided with fine clothing suitable for her new circumstances, and granted access to educational resources and tutors. It was a world of stark, almost unbelievable contrast to the lifelong neglect and hardship she had endured. Her education became comprehensive and rigorous. She diligently studied history, economics, and the complex, intricate nuances of Rhodian law. She learned the essential arts of courtly etiquette, diplomacy, and the subtle nuances of effective conversation. Her innate intelligence and insatiable thirst for knowledge allowed her to absorb this entirely new world with remarkable speed and proficiency. Prince Adrian visited her regularly, not merely to oversee her academic progress, but to engage in deep, intellectually stimulating conversations, sharing his vision for the kingdom's future and listening intently to her insightful and often unique perspectives. Lyra, Your understanding of agricultural reform is most astute. The common farmers face immense hardship. What solutions do you propose, Your Highness? A redistribution of unused crown lands, coupled with fairer taxation and access to sea banks, could significantly alleviate their burden. But the infrastructure to support this, Baron von Hesse and his faction, witnessing the failure of their initial efforts to deter Julian, significantly intensified their campaign. They began to disseminate more insidious and damaging rumors, suggesting that Lyra was employing sorcery or manipulative tactics to ensnare the crown prince. They whispered disparagingly of her common origins, her supposed lack of breeding, and the grave danger she posed to the sanctity and purity of the royal bloodline. Their strategic plan was to discredit her by any means necessary. They actively sought to find or, if necessary, fabricate evidence of impropriety, aiming to create a scandal of such magnitude that it would force Julian's hand, compelling him to either abandon Lyra or expose himself to public ridicule and irreparable damage to his reputation. They understood that a direct attack on Lyra's character would likely be met with Julian's strong defense, so they wisely decided to target his judgment and his reputation. Julian, becoming increasingly aware of the malicious and damaging rumors circulating about Lyra, confronted her directly. He reassured her of his unwavering trust and his steadfast commitment to protecting her from the court's venomous whispers. This open and unequivocal declaration of faith profoundly solidified their bond, transforming his initial curiosity into a deep, mutual respect and a burgeoning, undeniable affection. Their conversations grew more intimate, touching upon shared vulnerabilities and nascent aspiration. The crown's gaze had now firmly settled upon Lyra, irrevocably transforming her from an invisible, neglected waif into a prominent subject of royal favor and intense political contention. She was no longer merely the girl despised as nothing. She was a woman on the precipice of a destiny forged by a prince's unwavering conviction and the kingdom's intricate, often dangerous, machinations. The stakes had been raised exponentially, and the true test of her resilience and character was about to commence. Baron von Hesse and his confederates meticulously worked to orchestrate a scandal that would indelibly tarnish Lyra's reputation and compel Prince Adrian to distance himself from her. Their plan was intricately designed, aiming to exploit the court's deep-seated prejudices and Adrian's esteemed position. They understood that a direct assault on Lyra's character would invariably be met with Adrian's staunch defense. Thus, they strategically targeted his judgment and reputation instead. The cornerstone of their scheme was a meticulously forged letter, purportedly penned by Lyra, detailing her alleged ambitious intentions and a clandestine pact with a rival kingdom to undermine Adrian's succession. The letter was crafted with exceptional cunning, employing a writing style that subtly hinted at Lyra's known intelligence, making it seem plausible, while simultaneously revealing a desperate ambition that was fundamentally antithetical to her true nature. This fabricated correspondence was strategically discovered and then formally presented to the king and subsequently to the wider council of ministers. The timing of this revelation was impeccable, coinciding with a period of minor border skirmishes, lending considerable credence to the inflammatory idea of Lyra's treasonous involvement. The ensuing outcry from the court was immediate, volatile, and far-reaching. Lady Beatrice, isolated and paralyzed by von Hesse's veiled threats to expose the Thorn family's darkest, most shameful secrets, found herself in an impossible corner. Her own precarious position, coupled with the implied danger to her family's reputation, presented her with a desperate, morally compromising choice. The pressure mounted relentlessly for her to corroborate the damaging rumors, to attest to Lyra's supposed manipulative nature and her disloyalty. Lyra was summoned for questioning. Faced with accusations she could not possibly fathom, she responded, with her characteristic honesty and directness, vehemently denying any wrongdoing. Her palpable lack of understanding of courtly deception, her straightforward denials, were swiftly misconstrued by her accusers as irrefutable proof of her guilt. Her inability to grasp the gravity of treason. Lyra, they are trying to break us. This letter, it is a fabrication. I know you. I believe in you, but we must be cautious. Your safety is paramount. I would never betray you, Your Highness, or Viridia. My life has been spent in service, in quiet observation, ambition for power. It is not in my heart, only a desire for truth and understanding. Prince Adrian, utterly convinced of Lyra's innocence and determined to protect her, launched his own clandestine investigation. He dispatched his most loyal agents to meticulously gather information, to trace the origins of the forged letter, and to uncover the true perpetrators behind the elaborate conspiracy. He knew that simply defending Lyra verbally would not suffice. He had to expose the truth unequivocally and decisively. His agents soon unearthed crucial evidence: a disgruntled scribe who had been coerced into forging the letter, and a night watchman who had credibly witnessed a cloaked figure entering Lyra's quarters on the very night the letter was purportedly written. The trail of evidence began to converge with undeniable clarity, pointing directly to Baron von Hesse and his network of co-conspirators. In a moment of profound remorse and driven by the paralyzing fear of her own complicity, Lady Beatrice finally broke. She confessed everything to Adrian, detailing the threats made by von Hesse and her forced silence. Her testimony, though delivered with immense shame and deep regret, proved invaluable, corroborating the evidence Adrian's men had meticulously gathered and providing a crucial, undeniable link to the heart of the conspiracy. Armed with irrefutable proof, Prince Adrian convened a grand council meeting. He presented the forged letter, the testimony of the coerced scribe, the eyewitness account of the night watchman, and Lady Beatrice's tearful, damning confession. He meticulously laid bare the entire conspiracy, revealing Baron von Hesse as the mastermind, his motives rooted in pure ambition and a desperate attempt to maintain his influence. By preventing Adrian from elevating a woman of common birth to a position of influence, the revelation sent shockwaves of disbelief and outrage through the court. Baron von Hesse, cornered and thoroughly exposed, was promptly arrested. The swift and decisive action taken by Prince Adrian not only cleared Lyra's name, but also exposed the deep-seated corruption and treachery that lurked within the kingdom's highest echelons. Lyra, her name and reputation gloriously restored, was met by a profoundly relieved and deeply affectionate Prince Adrian. The ordeal had tested them both to their limits, but their shared trial had forged an unbreakable bond between them. The whispers of scandal were finally replaced by the resounding admiration of a kingdom that had witnessed her integrity and Adrian's unwavering loyalty. The unmasking of Baron von Hesse's conspiracy was a monumental victory for truth and justice, but it did not magically erase the deeply entrenched prejudices that continued to plague the court and the wider kingdom. While many enthusiastically celebrated Lyra's vindication and openly admired Prince Adrian's unwavering commitment to her, a significant faction of the nobility remained deeply wary and resentful. They still perceived Lyra as an unwelcome outsider, a commoner whose presence at the prince's side threatened the established social order and the perceived purity of the royal bloodline. Adrian, acutely aware of the divided sentiment and the simmering dissent, understood that a formal union with Lyra would necessitate more than just his personal conviction. It would require the acceptance, or at least the tolerance, of the kingdom's most influential powers. He found himself torn between his profound love for Lyra and the weighty responsibilities of his impending reign, a burden that weighed heavily upon him. He sought counsel from his aging father, the king, though immensely proud of Adrian's integrity and his handling of the conspiracy. The king was deeply concerned about the kingdom's fragile stability. The king warned Adrian that his desire for Lyra could ignite widespread dissent and internal unrest, potentially destabilizing the throne at a critical juncture, especially in light of the recent border skirmishes and lingering internal threats. "Julian, my son, your heart is noble, but the crown carries a weight heavier than any personal desire. The nobility is fractured. To force this union, to elevate a woman from obscurity to the throne, it could shatter the peace we have fought so hard to maintain. We need unity, not division, as your reign approaches." Lyra, though formally vindicated, keenly felt the oppressive weight of expectation and disapproval that surrounded her. She witnessed firsthand the subtle ostracism, the cold glances, and the hushed criticisms that followed her through the palace corridors. She understood with growing clarity that her presence beside Adrian was not merely a personal matter, but a profound political one, and that her love for him could potentially cost him the loyalty of his kingdom and his people. "Your Highness, I have learned much about the world and about the burdens you carry. My heart aches to see you so troubled. I cannot, in good conscience, be the cause of such division. Perhaps my place is not at your side. Perhaps true love lies in ensuring your reign is secure, even if it means my absence." Adrian was utterly heartbroken by her selfless and courageous offer. He vehemently rejected it. reaffirming his deep love for her and his unshakable conviction that she was the one destined to stand by his side. He refused to allow the ingrained prejudices of others to dictate the course of his heart or the future of his kingdom. Never, Lyra, your worth is not defined by the opinions of those who fear change. You are the strength, the wisdom, the heart that Viridia needs. I will not sacrifice our future, nor your happiness, for the narrow-mindedness of a few. My duty is to my people, and my people deserve a queen who embodies truth, resilience, and compassion, qualities you possess in abundance. Instead of succumbing to the mounting pressure, Adrian devised a daring and unprecedented plan. He announced a grand royal assembly, an event of immense significance where the people of Viridia, not merely the nobility, would have a direct voice in matters of state. He declared that the future of his personal life, and by extension, the precedent for his reign, would be decided by the collective will of the common folk. In conjunction with the Council of the Nobles, the assembly was a magnificent spectacle of nascent democracy in ancient tradition. Dignitaries and nobles presented their arguments, reiterating concerns about lineage and the sanctity of precedent. But then, Adrian invited common citizens to speak. Merchants, farmers, soldiers, their voices, so often unheard, were now amplified and given prominence. One by one, citizens stepped forward. They spoke with heartfelt passion of Lyra's quiet courage, her profound empathy, her sharp intelligence, and how Adrian's choice in her reflected his deep understanding of their needs and aspiration. They championed her as someone who embodied the very essence of a just and compassionate ruler, someone who truly understood the common good. I stand before you not as a claimant to a throne, but as a woman who has been touched by your highnesses' belief and who has come to love this kingdom with all my heart. My past was one of neglect, but my future, I pray, will be one of service. I offer not a royal bloodline, but a loyal heart, a keen mind, and an unwavering dedication to the welfare of every soul. In Viridia, from the highest noble to the humblest farmer, the overwhelming outpouring of support from the common people was undeniable and deeply moving. Their collective voice resonated with a power that even the most entrenched noble factions could not possibly ignore. The king, witnessing this powerful testament to Adrian's connection with his people and Lyra's genuine character, finally gave his blessing, recognizing that true legitimacy stemmed not from lineage, but from the hearts of the governed. Adrian, his resolve strengthened and his heart overflowing with love and relief, took Lyra's hand in front of the assembled kingdom. It was a profound gesture that proclaimed not only their deep love for each other, but also their shared destiny, a union forged not merely by royal decree, but by the undeniable and heartfelt will of the people. The path forward remained challenging, but their commitment to each other and to the future of Viridia was now firmly cemented. The union of Crown Prince Adrian and Lyra was far more than a mere marriage. It was the symbolic coronation of a new era for Viridia. The wedding served as a testament to their enduring love, Adrian's unwavering conviction, and the collective voice of the people who had championed Lyra's cause. The prejudices of the court, though not entirely vanquished, had been compelled to yield to the overwhelming sentiment and will of the kingdom. As princess consort, Lyra embraced her new role with remarkable grace and unwavering dedication. She did not seek to replicate the ceremonial aloofness or distant grandeur of past consorts. Instead, she actively engaged with the populace, visiting orphanages, hospitals, and schools, her presence a comforting balm to those in need. Her past experiences of profound neglect had instilled in her a deep and abiding empathy, making her an instantly beloved figure among the common people. Her intellectual contributions to the royal council meetings proved invaluable. She championed significant social reforms, advocated passionately for improved educational systems, and enthusiastically supported initiatives aimed at alleviating poverty and hardship. Her unique perspective, honed by a life lived on the margins of society, brought a vital and often missing understanding to the complex challenges facing the kingdom. Even those who had once scorned her now recognized her keen intellect and her genuine, heartfelt concern for the welfare of the entire realm. Lady Beatrice, stripped of her past ambitions and filled with profound remorse, sought out Lyra to offer a heartfelt and sincere apology. Lyra, possessing a magnanimity and depth of character that far surpassed her difficult past, readily forgave her aunt. She recognized the fear and desperation that had driven Beatrice's actions and offered her a position of quiet dignity, managing the restored estates of Blackwood Manor, ensuring its proper upkeep and a comfortable dignified retirement for the old stable hand, Thomas, who had shown her such kindness. Years passed, and Prince Adrian ascended to the throne, with Lyra steadfastly by his side as queen. Their reign was characterized by remarkable prosperity, far-reaching reforms, and a deep, abiding connection with their people. The kingdom, once fractured by prejudice and division, began to heal, united under rulers who embodied both unwavering strength and profound compassion. Queen Lyra became widely known as the Empress of Hearts for her profound and lasting impact on the lives of ordinary citizens and her exceptional ability to foster unity and understanding throughout the land. She unequivocally proved that true nobility was not an inherited trait, but a quality earned through unwavering integrity, immense courage, and an absolute commitment to the welfare and betterment of all. The enduring legacy of Lyra's extraordinary journey served as a powerful reminder that true worth is not determined by birthright or societal circumstance, but by the strength of one's character, the depth of one's compassion, and the unwavering courage to rise above adversity. Her story, from being despised as mere trash to becoming a beloved and respected queen, inspired generations, proving that even in the darkest of shadows, a life of purpose, enduring love, and unwavering resilience could indeed bloom and flourish. And so, the remarkable tale of the girl rescued from the dust, who found her true worth in the embrace of a prince and the devoted hearts of a kingdom, became an immortal legend, whispered through the ages as an enduring testament to the profound power of love, the unwavering pursuit of truth, and the extraordinary destiny that awaits even the most overlooked and undervalued souls.